Good afternoon, friends. On behalf of the School of Engineering and Technology, Indira Gandhi National Open University, I, Rakhi Sharma, welcome you all. I am the program coordinator of this Advanced Certificate in Power Distribution Management program. This teleconferencing session consists of 3 parts, where we will discuss about the energy audit and accounting, and it's our privilege to have expert Mr. K.K. Chakravarti, energy economist from Bureau of Energy Efficiencies with us. And now I request Mr. Chakravarti to present his lecture on this topic.
Good afternoon, friends. It's a good opportunity for all of us to interact and discuss on a very important subject for which all of us are really worried and interested as well. You are aware that our country is facing power shortages when we talk of peak power as well as when we talk of average shortages. And although in the 11th plan huge target is being set up, but still it is being believed that we will be facing the power shortages in the future time to come. Anyhow, let me introduce the organization from where I come. I come from the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, which is a statutory organization established under the Parliament Act in the year 2002. The mission of Bureau is to promote energy efficiency in all sectors of the economy and reduce energy intensity accordingly. The Energy Conservation Act 2001 has 3 major provisions, and these provisions relate to designated consumers, which are basically energy intensive industries and other establishments. And fortunately, power transmission distribution company and thermal power stations are a part of this Energy Conservation Act under the designated consumers. They have to fulfill certain mandatory provisions. They have to appoint energy managers. They have to get the energy audit done through an accredited energy auditor, and they have to comply with the energy consumption norms once they are fixed. So you being engineers or officials from distribution company, maybe within a year or 2 years, your sector is going to be included as designated consumer. For the time being, government has notified 9 sectors. Thermal power station have been covered, but transmission and distribution companies are yet to be covered. Maybe within a year or so, the distribution companies are going to be covered, and certain mandatory requirements are going to be followed by your distribution companies. So the subject which we are talking of today, the energy auditing, is a subject where you would be interested from the point of view of reducing your technical losses as well as maximizing your profits, and also to meet the mandatory requirement as mandated under the Energy Conservation Act.
I think there is some technical problem, so we will take a short break.
ग्राफिक जा रहा है, आप कंटिन्यू करिए प्लीज. ग्राफिक शो कर दीजिए. ये ग्राफिक जा रहा है ना.
Not functioning.
This is not functioning.
Computer is not functioning.
The slides are not working.
It's hanged. Okay.
So yes, we are extremely sorry for this disturbance.
When we talk of energy conservation or energy auditing, it is essential for all of us to understand the meaning of energy management. What does energy management means? There are many terms which are in circulation or being talked of. One is energy efficiency, one is energy conservation, another is energy management, and we engineers at large get confused with these terms, what these terms means. If you look at if you very specifically look into these terms, each term has a different meaning altogether. Energy management is the bigger umbrella which encompasses energy efficiency, energy conservation, and the fuel switching. So when we talk of energy efficiency, what we are talking of really is specific energy consumption, that is the energy consumption per unit of output, and it relates to the technology part. And when we talk of energy conservation basically relates to reduction in energy consumption without taking into account its effect on the productivity, comfort conditions. For example, in a room, if we switch off the light, fans, we do conserve energy, but we do compromise with our comfort levels. For example, energy conservation can be achieved by maximizing the productivity. That is, if we increase the production, then we don't do anything, but still the specific energy consumption per unit of output will go down. So that is the term energy conservation. So best term to be used by engineers should be the energy efficiency, because we are trying to achieve certain targets, objectives without compromising with the comfort levels and the other issues. Now let me read out the term energy management. The definition of energy management is really a wonderful, if you look into the explanation part of it, you will really realize what does this term means. It says the judicious and effective use of energy. That is the judicious and effective use of energy to maximize profits, because each entrepreneur is really interested in maximizing its profits. He may not be interested in reducing energy, but when we talk of money value, really he becomes interested in this approach. So the judicious and effective use of energy to maximize profits, or the minimize cost, or to minimize the cost and enhance competitive position. I can give you one live example of this approach, which was adopted by cement sector in the country. They have really shown and demonstrated the impact of effective use of energy, and they have remained competitive during the market, during those days when the market was very sluggish and they were facing a lot of problems in reducing their cost so as to become competitive. The other definition can be like this: the strategy of adjusting and optimizing energy. That is the different type of strategies which are being used to adjust and optimize the energy consumption by using systems. System could be technology, system could be the methods, and procedures. Procedures could be the management systems. Like for example, in Japan, the management system, the tools which they use have really helped the Japanese industry to become #1 in terms of energy intensity. They have the lowest energy levels, specific energy consumption levels, when we compare them with other industries in the developed countries. So using system and procedures so as to reduce energy requirements per unit of output while holding this output constant. That is, when we presume that output remains constant, and then if energy consumption goes down, then that is the term what we call energy management. Or there could be other definition of energy management: when we reduce the total cost of producing the output from these systems. For example, fuel switching. Although energy is not reduced, when a industry switches over from oil firing to biomass firing or rice husk firing, the energy consumption level remains same or may increase even, but the overall cost of the energy goes down because the cost of the biomass or the rice husk which is being fired in the furnaces or boiler is lower than the cost of coal. So it could be by the use of systems, it could be by the use of procedures, it could be by the use of fuel switching. We are in a position to reduce the energy cost or optimize the energy consumption. That's what energy management means. Now let's come to the objectives of energy management. What do really want to achieve through energy management? To achieve and maintain optimum energy procurement, we would like to have the desired level of energy procurement and utilization. That is, the energy what we procure and what we utilize, that should be optimum. And second is to minimize energy cost. That's another objective. Basically, as I said earlier, if you don't correlate energy with money, nobody in the industry would be interested, neither in your distribution company nor in the industrial level. No one would be interested, because we have to attach cost, we have to attach money value to the energy. Then it becomes easily understood by the top management or the people who are managing the energy. So to minimize energy cost and waste without production and without affecting production and quality. Sometime when we save energy, we really cut down the waste also. It has been proved time and again. For example, there are rolling mills and certain temperature is required on which the billets are heated. Say this temperature is around 1250 degrees Celsius or so. But if you maintain 1300 degrees Celsius, firstly we consume more energy. Secondly, what we do is we lose the material. Because at that higher temperature the iron gets oxidized and there is a scale formation, and if you look at the yield may be less by 5% or 7%. So we lose the material. So that means when we lose the material, that means the overall quantity which is being fed into the system and overall quantity which is taken out from the system, there is a loss in the material. So, but when we maintain the optimum temperature, we don't lose. The scale formation is very minimal, so we have less scale losses and better yield. So it has been seen and it has been proved again and again that when we try to achieve the objectives of energy management, we are in a position to cut down the wastages also. It could be applicable for your transformers also. If, for example, if we load them properly, optimally, and don't overload them from the desired level, the oil temperature or the breakdown losses or the failure of the transformer would be minimized. So they go hand in hand, in my opinion. Energy management as well as the waste management, they go hand in hand. Thirdly is to minimize environmental effects. You might have heard nowadays we are talking of clean development mechanism. I hope you will agree with me, when we use energy, it is always associated with emission of pollutants. 1 unit of electricity which we are presently using in this studio, a thermal power station is forced to emit about a kg of carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, and we know when the greenhouse gas the volume goes up, it is going to affect the whole climate. The temperature will shoot up, and then we will have somewhere droughts, we will have somewhere floods, and the whole ecosystem is going to affect it, and the whole world is worried on this. So that's why when we are in a position to achieve energy optimally, then we are going to have very minimal harmful environmental impact. Now let me take you back to the Energy Conservation Act. If you look into the section 2, certain definitions are given and energy audit has been defined under this section. It says the verification, monitoring and analysis of use of energy, including submission of technical report containing recommendations for improving energy efficiency with cost benefit analysis, and an action plan to reduce energy consumption. Each word of this definition has a meaning. If you permit me, I would like to add one more word here, the data collection or data generation. It should come before verification. the word verification has come, which presumes that data is already available, and this audit is going to verify that data. But for distribution company, majority of the companies do not have the data with them. The data needs to be generated. So as far as distribution companies are concerned, we have to generate the data by incorporating meters at the substation level, at the transformer levels. So that data needs to be generated. So data generation and its verification, then we need to monitor also. Many of the auditors, they end up to this stage. They don't go beyond that stage. No proper analysis is carried out with the result. They are not in a position to project properly or convince the management that the energy conservation opportunity which they are suggesting, which they are proposing, normally they don't find, I mean, those recommendations do not does not find acceptance in the top management, at the top management level. This is because analysis is not done properly. In my opinion, as far as data collection is concerned, verification is concerned, monitoring is concerned, is fine, but the major emphasis should be on the analysis part. This is the part from where the recommendations would flow, and the good recommendation would really help the company and your distribution system. Let's come to this fact, why we need the energy audit, why Government of India has made it mandatory for the conduct of energy audit in the designated consumer premises, and your distribution companies are one of the designated consumers under the Act. See, if you look into the energy cost structure of any establishment or any system, there are three basic components. The first is energy, second is the labor workforce, the third one is material or raw material input. These are the three major components, and when energy intensive industries were included in the Energy Conservation Act, they constitute, around 70 to 75% of the energy used in the industry. And when it was analyzed, it was found that the energy cost itself accounts for anywhere between 30 to 50% of the total manufacturing cost. So that's why it was felt that when energy cost component is so important in the overall manufacturing cost or in the operation cost, why it should not be targeted. And for this, a systematic approach is required where the whole system is taken into account and then recommendations are worked out. Before this concept of energy audit, the energy conservation studies were carried out by the consultants, and these studies were in ad hoc way. For example, you have two distribution transformers, and one transformer, the load can be shared by both the transformers, or the load is in such a way that even a single transformer can take the load. So these energy conservation studies recommended that you switch off one transformer and shift the load from second transformer to first transformer, and then operate system, and you will be saving the no load losses of the transformer. That was an energy conservation study, but this study does not clearly takes into account what happens to the overall losses, the total losses, when the both transformers are in parallel operation and when single transformer is in parallel operation. So this way, these energy conservation study did more harm rather than helping the industry or the establishment. So that's why the concept of energy audit was introduced, where a holistic approach is taken, and when we study the system, total system, then we are in a position to relate various components of the system, and then we are in a position to find out, when we introduce certain changes or introduce retrofit measures, what will be the impact of these measures on the other components of the system. So that's why the energy audit have become successful, and believe me, as far as Indian industry is concerned, they are reaping the benefit out of this study. Although they have to pay consultancy charges to the auditors, but they are reaping the benefits. So, as I said, though, energy becomes a top ranker for cost reduction. Now, therefore, conduct of energy audit is essential to determine ways to reduce energy consumption or losses per unit of product output or energy sold or to lower operating cost. Further, energy audit is also needed for establishing benchmark. This is a word which is very loosely talked of. Many of us do not really understand what does benchmark means. It's a very detailed, exhaustive study which needs to be taken up, and so far very few auditors take up such studies, but in real sense it does help. And this was, again, I quote the example of cement sector in India. If you look into the energy audit aspects of this sector, they audit their consumption level at the various departments, and then they fix up the norms. For example, in the raw meal preparation, when the limestone is being prepared for feeding into the kiln, how much kilowatt hour they use. When it is going through conveyors, how much kilowatt hours are being used. And these benchmarks are then established. Then all these units in our cement sector, there are more than 125 big cement plants in the country. They compare themselves, they share this data, and then they feel that if a particular unit A is consuming less, why it is consuming less, and why we can't come up to that level. So they compare their performance section wise, department wise, and this really helps them. And in case this type of system is introduced in the distribution companies, first within the circle, then within the distribution company, then we compare with respect to other distribution companies in the country, we will be really getting benefit from this type of approach, because there are live examples. Few other sectors have already demonstrated the impact of this process. Let's come to the specific area where all of us are concerned, that is the power utility. So energy audit in a power utility involves basically 4 steps. What we are trying to do is we are going to quantify the energy losses and going to quantify them. Then we shall be segregating these losses into technical and commercial losses. Then we estimate the energy conservation potential of a system, and then we propose economically viable and attractive solution. In fact, the Energy Conservation Act gives this flexibility to the entrepreneur or the owner of the company or the management, that if an audit has been carried out under the Act, and say for example 50 recommendations have been proposed, but the management can accept any recommendations whatever they feel like which are techno-economically viable. So that flexibility has been given to the management, that they are free to select those recommendations which in their opinion it is techno-economically viable, and these recommendations are then required to be reported to the government, and then government would look into the progress achieved on the implementation of such recommendations. So all the recommendations which are proposed by the energy auditor in distribution company, in your case, would not be compulsory for you to comply with. You have the option to select which are techno-economically viable. Energy accounting and energy audit. We will be discussing about energy accounting in the second session, but let me tell you, energy accounting is a part of the energy audit. Without energy accounting, the energy audit is not complete. So energy accounting gives us an overall picture of energy availability and its use. That is energy input, energy loss, and the energy output. That's what energy accounting means. And energy audit helps us in analyzing the data in a systematic and meaningful manner to evolve appropriate measures. So this, while we conduct energy audit, we take into account the assistance provided by the energy accounting. So why we do so? We do so to introduce checks and balances in the system for reducing leakages and losses. Basically, the main objective of energy audit is to reduce the losses and wastages and achieve technical performance. That is the targets whatever you set for your company. What are the aims of energy audit? Review and upgrade procedures for energy accounting. The procedures which are in vogue, those procedures can be reviewed and upgraded. Then review technical efficiency of system elements in sub-transmission and distribution system. Analysis of the techniques for measuring the energy received, energy billed, and the corresponding revenue collection. Review of performance equipment, meters, distribution transformers. Segregation of technical and commercial losses or non-technical losses. Establishment of norms for checking the consumption of various categories of consumers and overall energy balance in the circles. Frankly speaking, none of the energy auditors really stick to these aims and objectives. They are very, very selective, but when a comprehensive energy audit is carried out, I think we should stick to these aims, because until and unless we try to achieve the objectives or such aims, no energy audit will be successful. Let's come to your system, that is the distribution utility. Energy audit would help us, or it would ensure that input units into an area are recorded. That is, from the substation, when the energy is being dispatched, we will have the clear indication that how much energy we have sent. Ensures that the corresponding output units are recorded from the distribution transformers. When it is going to the consumers, it would be ensured that these outputs are recorded. Then once we have the input and output, then we are in a position to identify the areas of deficiency under recording or which are under theft, and then accordingly we can find out what are the corrections required. And also enables accurate calculation of system loss, both technical and commercial. Benefits of energy audit. There could be many benefits. In fact, these are some of the benefits, I would say, but we can cross such lists. First is load management. We are in a position to manage our load. Then power factor, which is now very, very significant. Industry at least is very aware of achieving the optimum level, because certain incentives are being offered. For example, in Maharashtra, if you improve the power factor more than 0.95, then incentives are there on the unit consumed, units being charged, the tariffs on the units being charged. And many of the industries are saving around 6 to 8 lakh rupees per month because of improvement in the power factor. Active and reactive power flows. That is, we know that power can be electric power can be taken into three components: active, reactive, and apparent. Apparent power is the power on the basis of which all our transformers or DG sets or basically our the alternators are rated, and it determines the heating of the system. Reactive power is basically used in the magnetization and it's a loss. No useful output can be taken out from that. And active power is the real power which a motive electric motor or we can get mechanical output from this active power. So these are the three basic components. All of us should be very, very clear about the three basic components of the power. Until unless that clarity is there, I think we will be making a lot of mistakes. So this I am telling you from the experience what we have gained over certification examination for energy managers and energy auditors. Many of our engineers have really forgotten the difference between these three type of powers, three components of the power. Then we can find out what is the diversity in the system. Then we can find out what is the optimum utilization of equipment. For example, your transformers, your feeders. What is the optimum distribution? What could be the optimum utilization? Then we can find out the improved voltage profile in the system. To what extent we can improve our voltage profile? In fact, system loss, voltage is the first signal which reflects what is the total loss. I give you a very simple example. When a compressed air system is there, when you send compressed air at 7 kg or 7 attar pressure, and at the receiving end if it is 6 attar or 5.5 attar, that shows either there is a leakage in the system, or there is a high pressure drop in the system, or a combination of both. So if you are sending distribution voltage at say 11 kV, and at the receiving end, and we are able to record 10.4 kV or so, that means 0.6 kV. And in another similar feeder, similar situation, and we see there it's 10.6 kV or 10.7 kV, then it clearly tells us that the system where the high voltage drop is there is a problem. Either there is a excessive load, or there is a more technical losses. So voltage, just like temperature, the body, the temperature of a human body, which gives an indication that whether a person is healthy or not. Similarly, the voltage drops gives the indication whether there are losses in the system or not. So then we can have details of category-wise consumption of loads and proper forecast of demand, then better system augmentation and expansion planning. So energy audit can lead us to all these benefits. Basically, there are 3 types of energy audit. In industry we say 3 types, but in your book the 4 types of audits have been have been explained. But more or less they come to the same conclusion, but it is the depth to which such audits are carried out. The first is the preliminary energy audit. In industry people call this as a walkthrough type of audits. Number of days spent, number of efforts made are very less in comparison to other type of audit. Second is utility cost analysis. I'll discuss one by one this type of audit. Then third one is standard energy audit, and fourth one is detailed energy audit. As far as industrial establishment are concerned, they follow first one, preliminary energy audit, and then they follow detailed energy audit. But in your book these 4 audits name have been mentioned. What is the methodology of conduct of such audits? Let's discuss one by one. So preliminary energy audit uses existing or easily obtained data. For example, there are records already maintained by a facility. We have the loading pattern available with us. So auditors looks into this type of data. He doesn't generate data during this exercise, because time is very short and less money is being paid for conduct of such audits. So in walkthrough type of audit, normally data generation is very minimal. Then the auditor establishes energy consumption in the organizational system through your records. What is the energy received, what is the total energy accounted for. He establishes such levels, then estimates the scope for saving. When auditor is trying to estimate the scope for saving, basically it depends upon his expertise. If a very good auditor is doing this type of audit, then he will be in a position to come out with a large number of good ideas. But if a auditor who doesn't have much experience and he is asked to come out with the energy conservation opportunities through walk-through type of audit, I'm afraid he cannot give you much information or much energy saving opportunity information. So when you invite any auditor for preliminary energy audit, please ensure that the auditor is really an expert in that area, because time available is very short, information available is very short. So it is basically depends upon the expertise of the auditor and his past experience in the whole system. So main attention is to find out the no or low cost measures. Normally he doesn't gets into the medium and long term measures. The auditor always tries to find out the low hanging fruits through which the benefits can be demonstrated. Second is the utility cost analysis. Basically this is meant for buildings, where if a building facility, if you really analyze the bill, you can see what is the maximum demand of the facility, what is the power factor of the facility.
There is a call from Cochin. Yeah, Cochin, please ask your question. Hello.
Hello,
Yes, Cochin, please ask your question.
this is Regional Center Cochin.
Yes.
Two of our students of ACP team are here watching the program. They have a problem that they have not received their study materials. And it seems their exams is going to be held in December. So they were just asking us to just expedite that. So on request the team in Delhi to kindly see that the material is dispatched on time.
Okay, we will see the matter and
Thank you. Over.
please send their enrollment. So the request from the students that send their enrollment number through this email, and definitely we will arrange for this. And our email ID is mentioned in the letter we have sent you earlier. So please, this kind of information is given in only in the email, not through video conferencing, because we have short time and these are the very important discussions. So we can solve this kind of query only through email, and you can call us for non-delivery of material and other this kind of issues. So yes, please continue with this.
So basically these utility cost analysis are normally done by the establishment, but just looking at the electricity bill, they are in a position to find out how much is their power factor, to what extent they can improve the power factor, to what extent they can improve their maximum demand, because the tariff being paid by this establishment is in two-part tariffs and as well as power factor penalty. So power factor does affect the maximum demand, power factor does has a bearing on the power factor penalty charges. So they look into the bill, and normally 2 days, 3 days time period is sufficient to carry out this type of audit. So it also takes into account the weather effects. The other is, the third one which is mentioned in your book is the standard energy audit. Basically through these audits we are trying to establish the baseline data. It is very, very essential when we try to go for retrofit measure or improvement measure in any system. The baseline has to be there. Otherwise what happens, tomorrow it will become very difficult for you to convince the management whatever retrofit measures you have incorporated, to what extent they have resulted in the savings. Technically one can say one estimates can be projected when we switch over from CRGO transformer to amorphous core transformers, we save this much because this is the loss, this is the loading on the transformer, this is the operating losses. When we switch over from CRGO based transformer to amorphous cores, this is a saving. So technically correct, but management doesn't like to get convinced by this type of assessments. They would like you to project before doing this retrofitting what was the baseline, after implementation what was the new conditions. So before modification, after modification, those figures they themselves speak of the impact which such retrofit measures improve. Basically nowadays the energy audits are being carried out in government buildings. So before such audits are carried out and the implementation is taken up, the baseline is established. Then the energy service companies are being called and they implement, and based on that baseline then they take their savings. If there is any change, then there are formulas, there are methods to change the baseline even. Now coming to the detailed energy audit, basically in my opinion when you get into the energy auditing, you will be doing this detailed energy audit. No doubt in the pre-audit phase the preliminary energy audit is required. Without this you can't go ahead. You have to have a complete understanding of the system, for which a walkthrough type of audit or pre-audit, during the pre-audit phase a preliminary energy audit we need to undertake before moving to detailed energy audit. So detailed energy audit evaluates all energy using system, equipment, and includes detailed energy savings and costs. I mean, it's complete working of the reserves with financial backing. It's not like that, no simple payback are never accepted in the detailed energy audit. So one has to have complete understanding of the technical methods as well as financial and other project management systems. So there are three phases in the energy audit, detailed energy audit: pre-audit phase, and post-audit phase. Basically There are 10 steps which have been proposed in your book. First is the pre-audit phase. The auditor has to plan and organize. That is, he has to develop a questionnaire, what type of data he needs to collect, and the people whom he wants to meet. Then conducts the walkthrough audit. Then he will have informal interview with energy manager. As per the Energy Conservation Act, it will be mandatory for your distribution company to employ a certified energy managers. For all practical purposes, it would be the certified energy manager who would be responsible for the conduct of energy audit. The results, it helps in resource planning. I mean, what type of resources are required to conduct the audit, establish and organize the energy audit team. He would be selecting the experts required for the energy auditing team, then what type of instruments are required, what type of time frame is required. All this information of step 1 will help the auditors to prepare or gear up for taking up the audit. Second is conduct of brief meeting awareness program with all in charge and person concerned. This is very, very important, because until unless he have interaction, the auditor have interaction with the people who are associated with it, he cannot get the real information, because his stay in your company will be of very short duration, maybe 4 months, 3 months, and the base information will be coming from the people who know the system. He is an outsider, auditor is an outsider. So the real people who know the system, they have the access to the information, so that information needs to be shared with such auditors. And also it ensures the cooperation. Otherwise, auditor would always be seen an outsider. He will never be extended all sort of assistance and support. Audit phase, data gathering and data generation, in my opinion, is the base through which the auditor is going to work. And he would be preparing power distribution diagram in case they are not available, then energy utility diagram. For in your substation, what type of energy utilities you have, he would be generating that type of. So historically, data analysis, baseline data collection, all that basic information he would be doing it. This is very, very important. The major job of the auditor is in this phase, because data generation, as far as distribution companies are concerned, I think is a major challenging task. Much of the time of the auditor is going to be consumed for this particular phase. Coming to step 4, conduct survey and monitoring. Then he has to observe whatever data has been collected. It needs to be representative data. Then he has to reascertain that it doesn't pertain to one particular moment. Actually, that type of indicators, that type of performances are being repeated, so he has to monitor that data at a regular interval. Step 5, conduct of detailed trials wherever are possible. It can be on your distribution transformer, it can be on your feeders. The detailed trials he has to conduct. And then analysis of energy use. For this, he need not to be at your place. The auditor can do it at his operating office. And then step 7 is identification and development of energy conservation opportunities. Now here, basic, I mean, the major output of the audit is going to come in this step 7, where he is going to reveal what has been the outcome of the audit. Cost benefit analysis. After doing this technical analysis, he will be developing the cost benefit analysis on total financial model. And finally, reporting and presentation. That is where many of our engineers fail. We are not in a position to prepare proper reports. Thus, I think we need to understand, there is a lot of good material available in your book which really tells us how to submit your audit reports, how to submit your proposals.
We like you to ask as many as questions you want, so that we can make this presentation more interactive. And here we will take a short break, and just after 5 minutes we will be in discussion, and at sharp 4:30 we will be here.